Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Julie Santiago, and I am joined by the absolutely inspiring, luminous, breathtaking Abby. And Abby, I am just so happy to have you here. So thank you for joining me today. For those of you who are watching, whether you pop in now or you pop in later, please just welcome Abby and tell her hello. Abby, I can't wait to talk to you here. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and it is such a privilege to be asked to speak with you and to share where I am right now, so thank you.
You're so welcome. We were just chit-chatting, and Abby was giving me some pretty tremendous updates, and you know, as so often happens, I'm like, we just have to go live right now. So here's where I want you to start, Abby. I mean, this is really meant to be about you kind of highlighting your journey of, you know, what you've learned over these past few months and who you are now. I know you've got so much wisdom that you can share with people on your journey. And so that's what I want this to be all about. And what I really want you to share right now is kind of give us a glimpse of what is going well for you, what your life looks like now, and then we will totally talk about where you were right before. But I just want to know, like, what's happening for you now? Like, what is coming together for you? What clarity do you have in your life? Just all the good stuff you want to share about where you are right now. Will you just give us an idea about who you are, what you do, and what's been happening for you?
Absolutely. So I was working as a media professional, and I knew I was hungering for more purpose, and I was looking for more leadership opportunities. And I'm based in New York City, so thankfully I'm surrounded by so many. And this program, I think, really helped me identify how and where I was self-sabotaging and holding myself back from really taking advantage of what is before me. And in the weeks since the program came to a close, I've done even more searching and growing. And I decided to focus on this nonprofit. I helped my brother build it 3 years ago, and I've been helping him as a board member, so thinking strategically. And in the last couple of weeks, I was asking myself, what would make everything else I'm doing easier and unnecessary? And the answer was, instead of diverting my energy to all these other things to be safe and be the good girl and be a people pleaser and seek validation, I decided to be more audacious and step in my power and bet on myself. And I've been channeling a lot of my energy into this nonprofit, and it has opened doors for me I didn't even know were available or that existed. And so I was asked to join the leadership, like the advisory committee of a professional circle for a Jewish group here in New York. But it has opened me up to mentorship and networking with some of the most successful and established men. And this program, I think, has really helped me come to a place of balance between my feminine and masculine energy and know how to, I think, really stand with these powerful people in my own power and not be intimidated. And I think to really represent myself and what I stand for with a lot more confidence and clarity and conviction. And through that organization, I've already had the opportunity to attend global conference on leadership development to cultivate more skills, build a network, fundraise more money for the nonprofit, which I really believe in with my heart and soul. I think if we really knock this out of the park, we will revolutionize education and workforce development in the 21st century. And this organization has already connected me with mentors, investment, like partners for job placement for our students. Like it's grown on itself. And then I connected with another young woman who works for an organization I admire so immensely. And she has already opened doors and made connections. I'll just say it's TED, which I grew up. I mean, if there was a platform that brought inspiration and hope and light to my world before, I think a lot of self-growth, it was TED. So it's such a meaningful experience, like a full circle loop. And she has introduced me to opportunities and projects and a chance to really channel, I think, my divine feminine energy and marry that with some of the masculine energy that was out of balance in my life before. And I'm starting to really integrate them, and I'm seeing my life improve immeasurably. I'm starting to live according to my cycle. I lived in so much self-loathing about menstruation, about my cycle, about being hormonal, or having my voice denied, being rejected for feelings of anger. So it goes as deep and as personal as my relationship to myself as a female and as a girl and as a woman. And then I'm seeing it manifest in the doors opening in my life and who I get to be now, that I'm not punishing myself, not self-loathing, that I'm starting to embrace myself and work on self-compassion and self-care, and embrace in a lot of ways that little girl that I want to be.
So beautiful, Abby. So beautiful. So I hear so many different things, but the theme of what I hear you saying is doors opening, like a lot of doors opening. So you had worked in, like, you're really well educated, right? You are super smart. You'd worked in a lot of different, companies, rising up the ladder. You actually had left your job before we started to work together, and your new venture was going to be and is around this really incredible nonprofit, right? That you are just saying, like, that it really, you believe in it so deeply, it has this ability to revolutionize education, right? And so where you are right now is that you are able, like, you're witnessing all of these opportunities come to you, all of these people, everything from the potential of a TED Talk to, connecting with different mentors and leaders and just so much. And one of the things that really stood out for me is that you're really talking about your voice. Like, I'm standing in my power, right, in front of all of these people who really, are powerful leaders and people, and you're holding your own, and you're standing in your power, and there's a lot more confidence in you, and a lot more self-compassion in you. And so what I want you to share with us is just where you were before. So is this where you were 6 months ago, or where were you? Like, where were you before this shift happened?
Yeah, I had already done, I think, what I thought was a lot of work. And I definitely had self-awareness around where I was self-sabotaging, but I didn't quite go to the heart of what was driving it. Those were all symptoms, but what was the real core of the problem? And I was really ignorant of how deep my lack of self-support, self-love, self-acceptance went. And I would say in a lot of ways I had a really toxic, fixed mindset about myself and about what I was capable of. And I kept looking to the outside world for definition and acceptance and validation. And I had been taught and internalized as a young woman and of Jewish descent, like, the world never has been and never will be safe for you. And that's a lot to take on. And I knew that it was corroding me from the inside. I was afraid to step out in some big ways. I was afraid to take certain risks. So I had left my position because there was now more security. We had received a really generous donation that allowed me to think, wow, what we're doing is real. Other people are now supporting us. And I don't think I would have been audacious to leave my job without that validation, but it certainly helped me look at, this is a pattern in my life. I don't want to do anything if I feel I'm really risking rejection and abandonment. Yeah. And being secure and safe and looking for other people to create that for me, not realizing the direction goes the other way. When you make it safe to be yourself and in your own skin, then the conditions around you change. The people you surround yourself with change. The reality you create changes.
That's huge, Abby. I just want to make sure that everybody heard what you just said, and I want to reflect it back to you. I just want everybody to really get this, that so we hear this a lot. Let me just take a step back. We hear this a lot, Abby. You heard this with the other women in your program, right? We hear this month after month, week after week, right? Women who are high achieving, successful on the outside in some way, striving for that accomplishment and achievement to feel better about themselves and the world and their lives. And what I heard you saying is that you knew, you didn't know deep down what was driving that. You knew that there was self-sabotage that would happen, or you would get to a certain level of success but then pull back, or you knew that was happening, but you didn't know why. We'll talk a little bit about why without going into too much detail, but what I heard you say is that when you learned how to feel safe in yourself, how to love and validate yourself, and this is, I know this can sound like a little woo and out there and but I mean, you're talking about something that you learned how to source in some ways your own power, your own confidence, so that you didn't need it. You got off that hamster wheel of needing the hits of achievement and the hits of validation and approval. So I know that the whole program unfolds in a way to get you there so that you can stand in your power without all of that. But what I am curious about is if you can share with us maybe what is one of the things that you did, or the first thing that you did, or is there anything that you could share tangibly that's helped you, feel like, oh, it is safe for me to be me. It is safe for me to use my voice. I can confidently, right, be with all of these either men or powerful women and stand on my own. Is there anything you want to share with us about how you've learned that, how you've learned to do that?
Absolutely. I think you made me think of so many different things, but I will say when I started the program, I was mindlessly achieving, relentlessly, and I couldn't say no to opportunities because I really had something to prove and I needed validation that I was worthy. And so realizing that I wanted to take a step back. So that is where I was coming from. And what made a difference for me, and what was actually in some ways really interesting, was I was stepping into the complete unknown and sort of using this program as something of a container while I had a lot of life transitions happening. And this program really helped me stay grounded and connected in some ways. That was very important. While I was moving, changing jobs, changing lives in essence. So I knew that I was in the process of a lot of change, but I hadn't anticipated the groundlessness. And having this community during our program really was something solid and grounding for me. So I just wanted to share that. But something tangible, well, as I said, I had removed myself from the world I was in, and I was really dealing and sort of beginning to look over things and reflect and ask myself, what was driving this? What was the payoff for this? And start to reevaluate with a little bit more awareness. So I would say understanding, oh, these were the actions, and then working backwards from there. And then these were the emotions that were being driven by these thoughts. And I was sort of oblivious to what were the thoughts driving the emotions and the actions, knowing I wanted certain results. So I feel like having more frameworks to understand, oh, this is the behavior I do mindlessly. What's really behind that? What is the real feeling? What is the real need I'm trying to have met?
I love that, Abby. So there, some of the things that we talk about in the program, right, is learning to see how our, thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to our actions, lead to the life that we have. And you said this at the very beginning, which I love. I was mindlessly achieving. And how many of us do that? It's next, 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 without the achieving or the accomplishment being in alignment with our values, what we really want, because it's not coming from a healthy place always. One of the things that we see time and time again, that you and I talked about in your program, that we see time and time again, is often that the achieving overachievers. Would you call yourself a recovering overachiever?
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We can still be achievers. We can still have drive and ambition, but we have to really check where it comes from. And sometimes before we go on this journey and really, really get to the bottom of what's motivating us, is we don't realize that our drive isn't always organic or natural, but rather it's to prove something, right? Which is what I hear you saying, that you really got to see that. And so I'm wondering for you, now that you're more aware, are you still with me? You're frozen, but I want to make sure. Can you hear me, Abby? Hang on, I think we're just having a little bit of internet. Oh, there you are. Are you there? Can you see me? Okay, hi. It blinked for a second. Okay, so the difference between mindlessly achieving, right, and then having ambition, right, which you are an ambitious woman. You're never going to not be ambitious, right? But can you tell me a little bit about the flavor for you, the difference now that you can see, like, this is ambition and drive that I have, that's natural, that's normal, versus this is just me mindlessly achieving and pushing. Like, how do you know the difference between the two now? And what do you do about that, if you will? Like, can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. It's definitely a work in progress, for sure. This was a very intense short program, so I know I'll be integrating for a long time, but
Wait, let's see. Hang on. There you are. You're back.
Okay. I mean, the thing that I want to share, I really struggle to do this, but I would offer this to anyone struggling with the same. Is it coming from, a frenetic, fearful place, or is it coming from love? And when you feel into your body, you start to get a sense of how does your intuition talk to you. And some people it might be, for me, it's feeling into my body. And if I feel contraction, if I feel small, if I want to hide, or for me, sometimes a drop in my chest and stomach, that's fear. And then if there's suddenly energy and expansion and excitement, that I know is something I want to go after. But I struggle with this too, because I get excited about a lot of things and I have a lot of energy to give. So I'm learning how to harness energy that comes from focusing on the things that excite you and that energize you, which is a really cool problem to have. When everything seems exciting, asking yourself, but what is my highest and best use? What will align with my values and my priorities? I think that's the biggest thing, is I didn't have priorities before. I just wanted recognition.
Oh, yes. So everything that you just spoke was so powerful. The difference between frenetic energy and then just like that feeling in your body. And I love what you're saying, Abby, right now. You're saying that you're actually excited about so many things in your life right now, right?
Yeah.
Not like it is now about discerning, right? How to take care of yourself, right? How to align your priorities with the decisions that you're making. And you didn't know what those priorities were before, right? You were just accomplishing and achieving to accomplish and achieve. And then you would burn out, right?
Yes.
And then you would start the whole process all over again because you weren't taking action in alignment with, right, your values and your priorities. So how did you start to identify what those values and priorities were? Like inside of the program, outside of the program, how did you get clear? How did you start getting clear on what those really were?
One of the things that I'm learning about myself is how and when do I contain the most energy, and when am I channeling the most energy? And what, for me, is effortless? Where is their flow? And I've noticed that when you start creating more spaces in your life for that, the things that don't create that or are not conducive to that, you're ready, I think, to let go of. Or that's an invitation to reassess. And for me, I've been asking, what are the things that light me up and that are opening more doorways, more pathways, more ideas, more excitement? I'm still learning, because I know you can't just hop to the next thing always. And that is something I'm cautious about, is like the dance between following ease and flow and commitment and responsibilities. And I feel like that's the dance between the masculine and feminine too. So I'm starting to walk that line, and it's a very different way of doing things, I have to say. But fundamentally for me, this was a really powerful gender, sex, power realignment. You made a point earlier about being with all these men. Ironically, I've always done very well with men. I've always been a man's woman. And I learned it came from a break with that sacred feminine, a loss of connection and trust to the feminine energy and in myself and in others. And I was consistently encountering a lot of other women, perfectionistic, over-functioning, and I would encounter all these behaviors and they would be very familiar, but I was really unconscious to it. And now I can see it around me with a lot more clarity, and I have a lot more compassion for the women who previously triggered me, because I can now see fundamentally what they were struggling with. So in a lot of ways, I would like to think I can actually better represent the strength of femininity and not apologize for it when I'm in these rooms with powerful men, to really represent the strength, the dignity, the warrior protector energy that, I was uncomfortable with before, while embracing the strength of being that nurturer, that connector, the intuitive. Yeah, I think it's trying to embrace all elements of my femininity and the inherent gifts of masculine energy too that I possess.
Absolutely.
But I want them to start dancing and flowing together.
Absolutely. And what Abby's talking about right now is there's a lesson, it's about halfway through our program when we really talk about power. Like, what is authentic power and not distorted power or manipulative power, but what is assertive power? And, I teach these attributes of feminine power, and Abby just named a lot of what they are, right? The connector, the intuitive, the nurturer, the protector, the fierce warrior, all of these different attributes. And so what I hear you saying, Abby, is there's a tremendous amount of healing that's been taking place for you around your own relationship. You were born into a female body in a patriarchal system. You've always been more comfortable with men. So there's that part of you that, is a fierce leader. But in the past, you had done it from a place that wasn't fully embracing your feminine strengths and rather only operating from your masculine strengths. And what happens when we do that is we become like men and we ultimately burn out, right? I mean, that is the reason that so many powerful, amazing women are burning out and opting out, is because we're trying to do it like men. And what I hear you saying is there's a part of you now that is more comfortable standing, yes, in the masculine aspects of you, right? Which are strong and developed. And also now bringing in these feminine aspects that you had actually rejected before. So how have you noticed just over these past few months? Because you, at the beginning of this call, listed a whole slew of opportunities, connections, developments that have all happened over these past few months for you, right? Leadership councils, speaking opportunities, money coming in, like lots of different things. So can you tell us how you feel like you learning to lean more into your feminine power, your feminine leadership? How has that been the opener of the way here? How has that helped?
What's interesting? I feel like it will come to me as I speak, but I know that there's something I want to share here. I learned, and you named it perfectly, I was rejecting a lot of my own feminine traits. And so I didn't have all these other parts of myself available to me to lean on. And I'm actually a really natural nurturer. I love cultivating other people and their talent. I love teaching and sharing. And in certain moments, I think I decided that's not professional. It's not professional to feel or develop a personal connection. And so I would deny myself access to these incredible gifts that I have because I felt, well, they're not appropriate here. They don't belong here. But actually what I'm learning, certainly in the field I'm in now, it's very relationship driven, but when you show up as your full, authentic self, people can't help but notice that kind of light and enthusiasm and passion, and it's infectious, and people want to be around that, and they want to be around someone who is doing great work, believes in what they're doing, is using their gifts and their capacities. So in some ways it's a little bit of a cheat because I left like a very corporate driven world with a very unnatural schedule to create something that works better for me. But on the other hand, I was in this program because I knew I needed to do that and I needed to take those steps, and that what was happening was not working for me anymore, and I was driving myself into the ground.
So, yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying, Abby, because, this is one of the reasons I say it's not your job, it's you, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we have so many women that come to us and think the problem is their job. And sometimes the answer is to leave your job. I walked away from my Wall Street job. You left your job. We have plenty of women who end up not having to leave their jobs, right? But the truth is that whether you stay in your job or whether you find a different job, or whether you leave your job to do a different endeavor like you're talking about, ultimately, unless we get to the bottom of the stuff that's been driving us on the inside, nothing changes, because you left your job and you were still the version of you, right? Every single day, even though you weren't having to go to work 10, 12 hours a day, wherever we go, there we are. And yes. So what you're saying is so important, because it's whether the answer is to leave your job or stay in your job or find a new job or start a nonprofit or do whatever your heart is telling you to do, that actually doesn't matter, right? What matters is who are you being while you're doing it? And if you don't get to the bottom of that, then you just repeat those patterns, right? You just hop from thing to thing to thing, right? Yeah. And so now for you, you've gotten to the bottom, right? And there's never an end, right? This is also the way of the feminine, which is, this is not linear. This never ends, right? We are on a path, to live your legacy for the rest of your life. But you did say something at the beginning of this call that I want to circle back on, because one of our final exercises is helping you get to a point where you know what your purpose is, you know what your passions are, you've got this year-long map of what you want your life to look like, and then we have you write this legacy pledge, like what is the legacy that you're really here to leave? And you held it up, so it looks like you've got it. And you said there's some things that are already really coming true. Yeah, that's so beautiful. And is there anything you want to share, either from the pledge or things that are already happening from you a few months after the program that you just want to share?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add, I came into this very ambitious, driven, I'd already had a lot of leadership positions, but there wasn't ease and grace. And I wasn't fully myself. I hadn't accepted myself, so I couldn't bring myself everywhere. And this, I think, reflected me saying, I know I have intellect, I know I have capacity, but that doesn't have to be everything of who I am. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be soft. Like, I thought those things made me weak. Because in a lot of ways, I was still a 7-year-old girl who didn't know how to process her feelings. They felt so big and they felt unwelcome in the world. And I just learned I was caught in this loop of feeling and then feeling it wasn't okay, and feeling so much and it wasn't okay. So when I started to go into heal, that so much has opened up. And I knew for me, I had a big... And I'm not going to suppress emotion. That's one of the best things I learned from this program, is just welcome it. But I get so emotional when I think about it, because in a lot of ways I get to advocate for children.
Yeah. So So tell us why that's important for you. You're advocating for children and you being in touch with your emotions now and not suppressing or denying any of that. Why is that bringing up emotion for you?
I think I know what it feels like to feel voiceless and silenced and so hurt and alone. And the work I do now, I mean, we focus on the most underserved communities of young people around the world, disabled children, children living in rescue shelters in the slums of Kenya. We focus on women living in women's shelters, former gang members, giving them skills training. You know, these are people who would be left behind. And I love the idea of giving them digital cameras and digital skills and tools and storytelling ability to share their voice and their story and rewrite their lives. Like, that moves me to no end. And the thing I love too is I focus a lot on light, and photography literally means writing with the light. So to give people the light and the chance to author with it, I really feel so blessed, you know, to get to work on something that I believe in and that I get to take some ownership over. And look, it's not easy, you know, I have to fundraise my salary. I'm definitely hurting when it comes to my bills, but that's another area for me to grow and take on responsibility and challenge myself and see if I can inspire more people to join us on this journey and partner with us. But I would love to read you my legacy, because that was the question you asked.
Whatever you want to share. You can read a little bit of it, all of it, whatever you want.
Yeah. So I wrote, I'm here to contribute to the creation of the enlightened leaders of the 21st century. I can use my gifts of teaching, speaking, connecting, and inspiring others, and by sharing information, resources, and wisdom. I will continue helping leaders to cultivate self-awareness, authentic power, and lasting influence to create a better world where we all lead from a place of love. Those closest to me will know me as a woman who is kind, genuine, and truly nourishing. Others will know me as a woman who is passionate, generous of spirit, and committed to the advancement of humanity and the enlightenment of the world. Everyone who crosses my path will feel inspired and empowered, but also truly seen and appreciated in their greatness. And that is the greatest legacy I can leave in this world.
So I want all of you to understand that Abby's journey in our work together culminated with this legacy pledge, right? It's an entire journey to get to the point where you could so beautifully articulate exactly why you were put on this earth at this time. And then the week before the legacy pledge, right, we create a whole plan to get you there. And so, Abby, it's so clear that you are so living on purpose, right? And yeah, the journey doesn't end. And yes, of course, there are always challenges, right? But the most committed women who show up in this program are the ones who are the most committed to their dreams. Does it mean we have it all figured out at any given point? No. But it means that we're committed. We're more committed to our dreams than our fears. It means that we show up and we're coachable, which you did every single week. And we show up and we're resourceful and we're introspective, right? I mean, I'm so touched, Abby, by the fact that you are here to give people in different communities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different incredibly challenging situations. You're here to give them a voice. And in order to do that, you first had to find your authentic voice. And so I just want to acknowledge that what we're here to give the world, we can't do that until we do that for ourselves. And so if any of you who are watching this feel like you have a message in some way, or that you're just not living the way that you want to be living, like Abby said, she had successful and accomplished, but she wasn't fully herself, and it wasn't easeful or graceful, and you knew there was more. So look, Abby showed up every single week. She worked her ass off. She traveled for 2 weeks in the middle of our program and still showed up and did the work. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. And I don't know, right, if you have what it takes, but if you are interested in any way in exploring it, all you have to do is find a time to talk to us. You can go to juliesantiago.com/apply. We'll get on the phone for about an hour. I'll listen to where you are. I will make a plan for us to get you to where you want to go if I can help you. And if I can't help you, I'm going to be honest with you about that, right? Like I said, like not everyone has what it takes to do this program. Abby, would you say that that's true? Like you have got to be ready and committed to really take your life to the next level.
Absolutely. I think it's a tremendous investment. And yeah, I wanted to run away a lot. And I did in my own way. But it showed me this is who I am when I'm really triggered, when I am really looking. And it showed me how I respond to that. Like it gave me so much information. And it was such a tight container, you know, a really supportive container to do that work.
Well, witnessing you during this journey has been absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see all the things that come. I know that 2019 is going to blow your mind in so many different ways. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your learnings and your lessons. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. There were so many nuggets here. And thank you all for joining us. Please join me in thanking Abby. Just tell us in the comments below anything that stood out to you, anything that you really feel like you learned or you're walking away with. And if you're called to go deeper and see if our program can work for you to bring your dreams more fully to life and bring you more fully online so that you can show up and serve in that feminine power and in that as that feminine leader that you know that you are, book a call with us, juliesantiago.com/apply. Abby, thank you so much, dear. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you
so
so
much, everyone.